The great chamber of the Galactic Council stretched upward like the inside of a hollow mountain. Lights floated in the air without any visible source, casting soft blue and gold shadows across the curved walls. Hundreds of seats rose in circles around a central platform, and in those seats sat the representatives of 47 spacefaring civilizations. Some had scales that shimmered like oil on water. Others had too many eyes or not enough limbs. A few existed as clouds of gas contained in special suits. All of them shared one thing on this day: fear. High Chancellor Vorath stood at the central platform. His species, the Kalvani, were tall and thin with skin like polished silver. They had led the Council for 3,000 years, guiding the galaxy through peace and prosperity. But Vorath's hands trembled as he activated the holographic display. The trembling was small, barely visible, but those who knew him well had never seen such a thing before. Honored representatives, Vorath began, his voice carrying to every corner of the massive chamber. The situation has grown worse than our most terrible predictions. The hologram showed a map of the galaxy's eastern spiral arm. 12 star systems blinked red, and as the Council watched, a 13th system changed color to join them. The Varaxian Dominion has taken the Porthal system, Vorath continued. 14 billion souls now live under their rule. Their fleet moves toward the Kethrani system as we speak. If Kethrani falls, the path to our core worlds lies open. Murmurs of despair rippled through the chamber. The Varaxian Dominion had appeared from the unexplored regions of space just 2 years ago. At first, the Council had tried diplomacy. The Varaxians had responded by eating the diplomatic team, literally eating them. Then they had begun their conquest, and nothing the Council did could slow them down. Our combined fleet has been defeated 3 times, said Representative Molkai of the Thunderborn, a species that looked like bears made of stone. We have lost 60% of our military vessels. What options remain to us? Vorath closed his eyes for a moment. What he was about to suggest would have been unthinkable just 1 year ago. There is one species we have not yet approached for military assistance. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew who he meant. The humans whispered Representative Silith of the Aquarii, her gills fluttering with anxiety. You cannot be serious. I am completely serious, Vorath replied. They have ships. They have weapons, and they have never been conquered. They have never been conquered because no one has bothered to conquer them, laughed Representative Kreth of the Valorian Empire. His forearms crossed over his chest in amusement. They are children playing with toys. They only achieved faster than light travel 200 years ago. 200 years. My species has been sailing between stars for 15,000 years, yet they have expanded to 47 colony worlds in that time, Vorath pointed out. Colony worlds on the edge of nowhere, Kreth replied with a dismissive wave. Barren rocks and frozen moons that no one else wanted. They are scavengers picking up scraps from our table. A new voice cut through the argument. Perhaps you should let the scavengers speak for themselves. Every eye in the chamber turned to a small section of seats near the back. The human delegation had always been given the worst seats, the ones farthest from the center, the ones with partially blocked views. It was a subtle insult that humans had accepted without complaint for 2 centuries, Commander. Helena Vasquez stood from her seat. She was not tall by human standards, and by the standards of most council species. She was tiny. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and she wore the simple gray uniform of Earth's combined fleet. No medals decorated her chest, no signs of rank or achievement. She looked almost plain compared to the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor worn by other representatives, but something in her eyes made the chamber pay attention, something calm and patient and absolutely unafraid. High Chancellor, Vasquez said as she walked down the stairs toward the central platform. I have been listening to your discussion with great interest. It seems the mighty Galactic Council finds itself in need of help from the children playing with toys. Her words held no anger or bitterness. She spoke as if she was simply stating facts, like someone describing the weather. Vorath's silver skin flushed darker with embarrassment. Commander Vasquez, I apologize for. No apology necessary, Vasquez interrupted gently. We have always known how the Council views humanity. We have accepted our place at the back of the chamber, our systems on the edge of explored space, our status as the youngest and least important species. We accepted these things because we understood something that perhaps the Council does not. And what is that? Asked Kreth, his tone still mocking but now mixed with curiosity. Vasquez smiled. It was a small smile, barely touching her lips, but it reached her eyes. That the universe is vast and dangerous, and that patience is more valuable than pride. She reached the central platform and stood beside Vorath, looking up at the assembled representatives. Despite her small size, she somehow seemed to fill the space. The Vraxian Dominion threatens us all, she continued. They do not care about your ancient histories or your proud traditions. They care only about conquest and consumption. Today they attack your worlds. Tomorrow, if you fall, they will come for ours. Humanity has no interest in watching the galaxy burn. Then you will help us? Vorath asked, hope rising in his voice. We will send a defensive contingent to the Kethrani system, Vasquez replied. Our ships will hold the line while you evacuate the civilian population and regroup your remaining forces. Relief flooded through the chamber. Representatives who had been holding their breath finally exhaled. Some even managed weak smiles. That humans were willing to help. It was not much. Everyone knew that human military power was limited, but it was something. How many ships can you send? Asked Representative Mulcahy. Enough for the task, Vasquez answered. But specifically, Mulcahy pressed, what numbers are we discussing? The Varaxian fleet heading for Kethrani consists of over 300 warships. We need to know what resources we can count on. Vasquez was quiet for a moment. Her expression did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. Those who noticed might have called it amusement, though that made no sense given the gravity of the situation. We will send the Outer Colony Defense Group, she finally said. 47 vessels of various classes. Under the command of Admiral Marcus Chen, they will arrive at Kethrani within 3 days. The relief in the chamber cracked slightly. 47 ships against 300. That was not a defensive action. That was a suicide mission. Commander Vorath said carefully. We are grateful for humanity's willingness to sacrifice. But surely you understand the mathematics. 47 ships cannot hope to defeat. I said nothing about defeat, Vasquez interrupted. I said we would hold the line. Admiral Chen is very good at holding lines. Kreth laughed again, but this time the sound was nervous. You are sending your people to die. Human, is that supposed to impress us? Is this some primitive concept of honor that we are too civilized to understand? Vasquez turned to look at him. Her eyes were steady and calm like deep water that hid everything beneath its surface. Representative Kreth, she said softly, in 200 years of spacefaring, humanity has fought 17 wars. We have been invaded twice. We have faced pirates, raiders, hostile alien species, and natural disasters that would have broken other civilizations, and in all that time, we have never not once sent our people into a battle we expected to lose. Something in her tone made the laughter die in Kreth's throat. He wanted to mock her, to dismiss her words as the boasting of a primitive species, but he could not quite manage it. The Outer Colony Defense Group will arrive at Kethrani in 3 days, Vasquez repeated. I suggest you use that time to complete your evacuations. Admiral Chen does not like civilians in his combat zones. She turned and began walking back toward her seat at the back of the chamber. Her footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Commander Vasquez Voroth called after her. Is there anything else you need from the Council? Any support we can provide? Vasquez paused at the stairs. She looked back over her shoulder, and once again that small smile touched her lips. Just stay out of our way, High Chancellor. Humans work best when we have room to move. She climbed the stairs and took her seat. Around her, the other human delegates sat in perfect silence, their faces revealing nothing. They might have been statues carved from stone. The council session continued for another 2 hours, discussing evacuation routes and refugee placement, and the reorganization of their shattered fleet. But through it all, something had changed in the chamber. The representatives kept glancing toward the back, toward that small group of humans sitting in their cheap seats with their plain uniforms and their unreadable expressions. Or did they know that the council did not? After the session ended, Voroth returned to his private office. His assistant, a young Kelvani named Thisra, was waiting with reports and requests and all the endless paperwork of galactic governance. But Vorath ignored all of it. Thisra, he said quietly, I want you to compile everything we have on human military capabilities. Every report, every observation, every rumor. I want it on my desk within the hour. Of course, High Chancellor. May I ask why? Voroth star. The Kethrani system had been beautiful once. Its central star burned with a warm orange light that painted everything in shades of amber and gold. 3 habitable planets orbited in the comfortable zone, their surfaces covered with forests and oceans and sprawling cities built by the Kethrani people over 10,000 years. 40 billion souls called this system home. Now fear had replaced beauty. The cities were emptying as evacuation ships launched by the thousands. The orbital stations that had once bustled with trade and tourism were being stripped of essential equipment, and in the space between planets, the remaining military forces of the Galactic Council waited for the end. Admiral Korath of the Valorian Empire commanded the defensive fleet. He had 62 ships under his control, the battered survivors of 3 devastating defeats. His crews were exhausted and terrified. His ammunition stores were running low, and his orders were to hold until the evacuations were complete, no matter the cost. He knew what those orders meant. They meant death. Admiral, his sensor officer, reported, hyperspace signatures detected at the edge of the system. Configuration matches human vessels. Korath felt something in his chest that might have been hope or might have been disappointment. He was not sure which was worse, to die alone or to watch the humans die with him. On screen, he ordered. The main view screen shifted to show the arriving fleet. Korath counted the ships as they emerged from faster-than-light travel, their hulls flashing with the characteristic blue light of human hyperdrives. 47 ships, just as the Council had said. There were strange vessels by galactic standards. Human ships did not follow the elegant curves and flowing lines that most species preferred. Instead, they were blocky and angular, covered with flat plates of armor and studded with weapon ports. They looked crude, primitive, like something a child might build from scrap metal. But there was something else about them that Korath noticed. Something in the way they moved, in the precise formation they held as they entered the system. Every ship was exactly where it should be, maintaining perfect spacing with no visible communication. They moved like a single organism rather than 47 separate vessels. "Open a channel to the human flagship," Korath ordered. A moment later a human face appeared on his screen. Admiral Marcus Chen was an older man with gray at his temples and lines around his eyes. He wore a simple uniform with no decorations, just like the human representatives at the council. His expression was calm, almost peaceful, as if he were arriving for a diplomatic meeting rather than a desperate battle. Admiral Korath Chen said with a slight nod. "I am Admiral Marcus Chen of Earth's Outer Colony Defense Group. We are here to assist in the defense of the Kathrani system." Admiral Chen, Korath replied, "I will be honest with you. I am grateful for your presence, but I do not understand what you hope to accomplish. The Varaxian fleet numbers over 300 warships. Your 47 ships, combined with my 62, give us barely a third of their strength. I appreciate your honesty, Admiral. Allow me to return it." Chen leaned slightly forward in his chair. "My orders are to hold this system until the civilian evacuation is complete. I intend to follow those orders. What I need from you is simple. Keep your ships out of my engagement zones and focus on protecting the evacuation convoys. Can you do that?" Korath's forearms twitched with confusion. "You want us to stay back?" "Admiral, with respect, you need every ship you can get on the front line." "What I need," Chen said patiently, "is room to operate. Human combat doctrine is different from what you are used to. Our ships will be moving fast and hitting hard. If your vessels are in our way, we cannot guarantee your safety." There was no arrogance in Chen's voice. He spoke like someone explaining a simple fact, like warning a guest not to touch a hot stove. "Very well," Korath agreed reluctantly. "We will guard the evacuation routes. But Admiral, when the Vraxians arrive, they will not care about our different positions. They will overwhelm you with numbers and then turn those numbers on us." Chen smiled. It was a strange smile, one that did not quite match the situation. "Let me worry about the numbers. Admiral, just focus on getting those civilians to safety." The channel closed, and Korath sat back in his command chair. His executive officer, a younger Valorian named Veska, stepped closer. "What do you think, Admiral?" she asked quietly. "Are the humans as foolish as they seem?" Korath watched the human ships on his tactical display. They were spreading out now, taking positions throughout the system in a pattern he did not recognize. Some ships moved to the outer edges, almost hiding behind small moons and asteroid clusters. Others positioned themselves near the hyperspace entry points where the Varaxians would most likely arrive. The largest ships, including Chen's flagship, settled into a central position that seemed almost exposed. "I do not know," Korath admitted. "Either they are fools rushing toward death, or they know something we do not. I have lived long enough to learn that certainty is often the greatest form of ignorance." He turned to his communications officer. "Signal all ships. New orders form a protective screen around the evacuation corridors. Let the humans have their engagement zones, and keep our sensors focused on their ships. I want to see everything they do." The waiting began. For 3 days, the combined fleet held position while the evacuation continued below. Millions of citizens boarded transport ships and fled toward the core worlds. The process was slow and chaotic, filled with the heartbreak of families separated and homes abandoned, but it was working. With each passing hour, more lives were saved. Admiral Chen used the time to prepare. His ships practiced maneuvers that made no sense to the watching below. They would suddenly accelerate to incredible speeds, dart across the system in seemingly random patterns, then just as suddenly stop and hold position. Sometimes groups of ships would cluster together, then separate and reform in different combinations. It looked like chaos, but Korath noticed that it was always the same chaos, repeated over and over with mechanical precision. "They are drilling," he realized aloud on the second day. "All of this movement, these strange patterns, they are practicing something." "Practicing what?" Deska asked. Korath had no answer. On the third day, the sensors detected the enemy hyperspace signatures, the sensor officer announced, his voice tight with fear. "Massive energy readings, they are coming in force." The main display updated with new information. 312 Vraxian warships, emerging from hyperspace in a broad formation designed to prevent any escape. At their center, the Vraxian command ship loomed like a mountain of metal and death. It was the largest vessel anyone in the system had ever seen, a mobile fortress that had destroyed entire fleets by itself. "All hands to battle stations," Korath ordered. This is it. He expected to see the human ships fall back, to group together for mutual protection like any sensible fleet facing overwhelming odds. Instead, they did the opposite. The human vessels scattered, spreading out even further across the system until they were barely visible on sensors. Some disappeared entirely behind asteroids or into the radiation shadows of gas clouds. "What are they doing?" Deska demanded. "They are making themselves easy targets," Chen Korath said, opening a channel to the human flagship. "What is your strategy? You are exposing your ships to defeat in detail. The Vraxians can hunt you down one by one." Chan's face appeared on the screen. He looked exactly as calm as before, perhaps even more so. "Thank you for your concern, Admiral. Please remember your assignment. Protect the evacuation routes. Leave the Varaxians to us." "But Admiral Korath," Chen's voice sharpened just slightly. "How many battles have you fought against the Dominion?" "3, Korath admitted. "And how many have you won?" The silence was answer enough. "Humanity has never fought the Varaxians before," Chen continued. "We have no defeats to recover from, no fear to overcome. We are approaching this battle with fresh eyes and fresh tactics. Trust me when I tell you that everything you think you know about space combat is about to change." The channel closed again. The Varaxian fleet advanced into the system, spreading out to cover all approach vectors. Their supreme commander, a massive creature named Vorkal, broadcast his demands across all frequencies. "Defenders of Kethrani," his rumbling voice declared, "you are outnumbered and outmatched. Surrender now and some of you may be allowed to serve the Dominion. Resist, and you will be destroyed utterly. You have 1 hour to respond." Korath waited for Chen to answer. All the surviving Council species waited. The evacuation ships paused, in their desperate flights, their crews frozen in terrible anticipation. Admiral Chen did not respond. The hour passed in silence. Then another hour. The Varaxian fleet continued its advance, slower now, confused by the lack of resistance. Vorkal broadcast his demands again. Again there was no answer. "They are afraid," Vorkal finally concluded. "The small human fleet knows it cannot win. They hide and hope we will pass them by. Pathetic." He ordered his fleet to proceed to the inner planets, to begin the conquest of Kethrani's worlds. The Varaxian ships moved deeper into the system. They passed the outer asteroid fields. They passed the hiding spots where human ships had disappeared. They passed the positions that seemed so foolishly exposed. Nothing happened. Vorkal began to relax. Perhaps the humans really were as weak as the Count Supreme Commander. Vorkal had conquered 37 star systems. He had destroyed fleets that outnumbered his own. He had broken the spirits of species that had existed since before his ancestors crawled from the primordial seas of his home world. In all his years of warfare, he had never felt fear. He felt it now. The human ships moved in ways that should have been impossible. They accelerated so fast that their crews should have been crushed to paste against the walls. They turned so sharply that their hulls should have torn themselves apart. They appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before his gunners could even find them on their targeting screens. "What are these things?" Vorkal demanded as another of his cruisers exploded on the main display. "How are they doing this?" His tactical officer, a clever young Varaxian named Krothel, worked frantically at his console. "Supreme Commander, I am analyzing their movement patterns. Their ships are using some form of advanced maneuvering system. They can change direction without slowing down, without any visible thrust adjustment. It is like they are ignoring the basic laws of physics." "Nothing ignores physics," Vorkal growled. "Then they have found a way to work within physics that we do not understand," Krothel replied. "Also their weapons. We assumed they used primitive kinetic projectiles because they lacked the technology for energy weapons. But those projectiles are traveling at nearly half the speed of light. At those velocities, even a small piece of metal carries more destructive power than our heaviest plasma cannons." Another explosion lit up the screen. Vorkal's hands clenched into fists. "How many have we lost?" 47 ships destroyed. Supreme Commander, 32 more with significant damage. Enemy losses, 0. 47 human ships against his 300, and they had lost nothing while his fleet bled and burned. "All ships form defensive sphere," Vorkal ordered. "Stop the advance. Let them come to us," his fleet responded, drawing together into a tight formation with the command ship at the center. It was a defensive stance, something Vorkal had never used in his life. He had always been the hunter, never the prey. The feeling sickened him. For several minutes, nothing happened. The human ships hung at the edges of his sensor range, their strange formations shifting and flowing like schools of predatory fish. They seemed to be waiting for something. Then Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication channel. "Supreme Commander Vorkal," Chen said. His tone was polite, almost friendly. "I hope you are finding this battle educational. I wanted to give you an opportunity to withdraw. Take your surviving ships and return to Varaxian space. Leave this system and the Council worlds in peace. Do this, and no more of your people need to die today." Vorkal stared at the communication screen in disbelief. The human was offering him mercy. A commander with 47 ships against his 250 was suggesting that he retreat. "You dare mock me?" Vorkal snarled. "You have won a few skirmishes with tricks and ambushes. That proves nothing. Form your fleet and face me directly, human, and I will show you what true military power looks like." "Ah," Chen said softly. "I was afraid you would say that." The channel closed. The human ships began to move again, but differently this time. Instead of their scattered, unpredictable patterns, they started coming together. Groups of 5 and 6 vessels linked up into small squadrons. The squadrons merged into larger formations. Within minutes, all 47 human ships had gathered into a single wedge-shaped mass, pointing directly at the Varaxian defensive sphere. "They are doing what you asked," Krothel said, his voice carrying an edge of nervousness. "They are forming up for a direct assault." Vorkal's mouth twisted into a hungry smile. "Finally, all ships, concentrate fire on the center of their formation. When they charge, we will cut them apart." "Supreme Commander." "At their observed speed and maneuverability, they cannot maintain those speeds in tight formation," Vorkal interrupted. "It would require impossible coordination. Now they must fight like everyone else. Now they will learn why the Vraxian Dominion has never been defeated." The human wedge began to accelerate. It came fast, faster than any formation Vorkal had ever seen. The 47 ships moved as one, their positions never wavering, their spacing never changing. They screamed toward the Vraxian sphere like a blade thrown by an angry god. "Fire," Vorkal commanded. "Everything we have." 250 Vraxian warships opened up with every weapon they possessed. Plasma bolts, particle beams, missile swarms, and kinetic rounds filled the space between the fleets with a wall of destruction that should have vaporized anything trying to pass through it. The human wedge hit that wall and did not slow down. Ships flickered and danced. Somehow, sliding between the deadly streams of fire, the wedge twisted and compressed and stretched, its shape changing constantly while maintaining its forward momentum. Shots that should have been direct hits missed by meters as human vessels moved at the last possible instant. The few hits that did land splashed against armor that held far better than anyone had expected. Then the humans were through the wall and into the sphere itself. What followed was not a battle, it was butchery. Human ships tore through the Vraxian formation like wolves through a flock of sheep. They moved so close to enemy vessels that the Vraxians could not fire without hitting their own ships. Their weapons hammered at point-blank range, punching holes through holes and detonating reactors and turning proud warships into drifting tombs. The Vraxian sphere collapsed into chaos. Ships tried to retreat, but human vessels pursued them. Ships tried to surrender, but the battle moved too fast for communication. Ships tried to ram the human vessels, but the humans were simply not there when the ramming ships arrived. Vorkal watched his fleet die and could do nothing to stop it. "Supreme Commander," Crothal shouted, "the human flagship is approaching our position." The Resolute Dawn came out of the swirling melee like a shark rising from dark water. It was the largest of the human ships, but still smaller than Vorkal's command vessel. It should have been no threat at all. It was the most terrifying thing Vorkal had ever seen. "All batteries target that ship," he commanded. "Destroy it." The command ship's weapons swung toward the Resolute Dawn and fired massive plasma bolts, each one capable of melting through a mountain, crossed the distance in heartbeats. The human flagship dodged. A ship that size should not have been able to dodge. It should have been too heavy, too slow, too clumsy. But it moved like a dancer, sliding sideways and up and spinning on its axis while maintaining its approach. The plasma bolts passed through empty space, where the ship had been a moment before. Then the Resolute Dawn returned fire. Its main weapon was not plasma, or particle beams or missiles. It was a single massive kinetic accelerator running the entire length of the ship's hull. It fired a tungsten slug the size of a ground car at a significant fraction of the speed of light. The slug hit Vorkal's command ship just below the main bridge. The impact was like nothing the universe had ever seen. The kinetic energy released was equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. The slug did not just punch through the armor, it vaporized everything in its path, creating a tunnel of superheated plasma that went completely through the massive vessel and out the other side. The command ship broke in half. Vorkal was thrown from his chair as the artificial gravity failed. Emergency lights flickered in the smoke-filled bridge. Alarms screamed their warnings to no one who could hear them. Through the shattered viewport, he could see the stars spinning as his dying ship tumbled through space. "Supreme Commander," someone was calling. "Supreme Commander, please respond." Vorkal pulled himself to a communication console. Blood floated in spheres around him, his own blood, he realized distantly. Something was very wrong with his body, but he could not feel the pain yet. "This is Vorkal," he managed to say. "Report, Supreme Commander. Fleet Captain Drexel reporting. I have assumed command of remaining forces. The enemy has ceased their attack. They are holding position around us. We have 89 ships still capable of fighting. What are your orders?" 89. From 312, in less than 4 hours. "What is the enemy doing?" Vorkal asked. "They are waiting, Supreme Commander. The human admiral is broadcasting a message on all frequencies. He is calling for our surrender." Vorkal laughed. It was a wet, broken sound that turned into a cough. More blood put him through. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the flickering screen. He looked exactly as he had at the beginning of the battle. Composed, perhaps slightly sad. "Supreme Commander," Vorkal, Chen said, "your fleet has been defeated. Your command ship is destroyed. Further resistance will only result in more deaths. I am offering you the same terms I offered before. Withdraw your remaining ships to Varaxian space. Leave the Council worlds in peace. There is no dishonor in acknowledging a superior force." "Superior force," Vorkal repeated. "Yes, you are superior. I understand that now." He paused to cough again. "But tell me, human, This fleet of yours, these 47 ships that have destroyed the pride of the Vraxian Dominion, is this your entire military strength? Have we seen the full might of humanity today? Chen was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle, almost kind. No, Supreme Common. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 47 member species filled their assigned seats, but thousands more observers packed the upper galleries. News drones floated throughout the space, broadcasting the proceedings to trillions of beings across the galaxy. The air itself seemed to vibrate with tension and anticipation. High Chancellor Vorath stood at the central platform, but he was not the focus of attention. Every eye in the chamber was fixed on the small human delegation sitting in their usual seats at the back of the room, the worst seats, the ones given to the youngest and least important species. After today, Vorath suspected those seating arrangements would need to change. The emergency session of the Galactic Council will come to order, Vorath announced. His voice was steady, but those who knew him could detect the strain beneath. He had not slept in 3 days. None of them had. We are here to discuss the events at the Kathrani system and their implications for galactic security. He pressed a control, and a massive holographic display appeared above the platform. It showed the Battle of Kathrani in compressed form, the arrival of the human fleet, the Vraxian advance, and then 4 hours of combat reduced to 4 minutes of silent footage. When it ended, the chamber remained absolutely quiet. The facts are these, Vorath continued. The Vraxian Dominion attacked the Kathrani system with a fleet of 312 warships. The human Outer Colony Defense Group, numbering 47 vessels, engaged and defeated this fleet. Vraxian losses totaled 223 ships destroyed. Human losses 0 ships destroyed, 7 ships with minor damage. The silence stretched. No one seemed to know how to respond. Representative Kreth of the Valorian Empire rose from his seat. His usual arrogance was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like humility. High Chancellor, Kreth said carefully, I must admit that I was among those who dismissed human military capabilities. I called them children playing with toys. I was wrong. Completely, utterly wrong. He turned toward the human delegation. On behalf of the Valorian Empire, I offer my sincere apologies and my profound respect. Commander Vasquez nodded graciously, but said nothing. However, Kreth continued, this raises serious questions. The intelligence reports we received about humanity indicated a small, poorly equipped fleet with technology decades behind the galactic standard. Those reports were clearly wrong. The question is, were they wrong by accident, or by design? Murmurs rippled through the chamber. This was the question that everyone wanted answered. Perhaps Vorath suggested Commander Vasquez would be willing to address the council directly. Vasquez stood and made her way down to the central platform. She walked with the same unhurried calm she had shown before the battle, as if nothing that had happened in the past week had changed anything for her. High Chancellor, honored representatives, she began. You ask whether humanity deliberately misled the galaxy about our capabilities. The answer is yes. The murmurs became shouts. Representatives rose from their seats, their voices overlapping in confusion and outrage. What a time! Vorath commanded, let her speak. The chamber slowly quieted. 200 years ago, Vasquez continued, humanity achieved faster than light travel and took our first steps into the galaxy, where we're excited and hopeful. We believed we were joining a community of peaceful, cooperative species. We were naive. She paused, letting the words sink in. In our first 50 years of space exploration, humanity was attacked 14 times. Pirates raided our colonies. Hostile species tested our defenses. Other civilizations saw us as easy prey, newcomers with no allies, no protectors, no experience in galactic politics. We lost millions of people to these attacks. Entire colonies were wiped out. The chamber was silent again, but it was a different kind of silence now. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Galactic Council offered us no protection, Vasquez said. When we asked for help, we were told that we needed to prove ourselves worthy of membership. When we complained about attacks on our territories, we were told that these were internal security matters beyond the Council's jurisdiction. When we requested military technology to defend ourselves, we were told that such technology could not be shared with primitive species. Representative Silith of the Aquari raised a tentacle. Commander, if I may. You may not. Vasquez interrupted. I was asked a question, and I am answering it. Please allow me to finish. Silith's tentacle lowered. Humanity learned a hard lesson in those early decades, Vasquez continued. We learned that the galaxy does not care about newcomers. We learned that weakness invites aggression, and we learned that the only way to survive is to be strong enough that others think twice before attacking. She turned in a slow circle, meeting the eyes of representatives from every species. So we became strong. We built ships. We developed weapons. We trained our military forces until they were the finest in the galaxy. But we did all of this quietly. We maintained our co-lanes on the edges of settled space, far from prying eyes. We presented ourselves as a minor species, struggling to catch up. No threat to anyone. Why? Demanded Representative Molkai of the Thunderborn. Why hide your strength? If you had revealed your true capabilities, no one would have dared attack you, because strength attracts attention, Vasquez replied, and attention leads to conflict. We did not want to spend our existence fighting endless wars against species that felt threatened by our power. We wanted to grow, to develop, to build a civilization worth protecting. We wanted peace. She smiled sadly. We hoped that if we stayed quiet and unassuming, the galaxy would eventually mature beyond its habit of preying on the weak. We hoped that cooperation would replace competition, that trust would replace suspicion. We were, perhaps, too optimistic. And now, Vorath asked, what does humanity want now? Vasquez turned to face him directly. We want what we have always wanted, peace and security for our people. We want to exist without constant fear of attack. We want to trade and explore and grow alongside other species, not in competition with them. She paused. But we also want honesty. We are tired of pretending to be less than we are. We are tired of sitting in the worst seats and accepting insults from species that would be dust if we chose to make them so. We have been patient for 200 years. Our patience is not infinite. The chamber absorbed this in heavy silence. What are you proposing? Vorath asked carefully. A new relationship, Vasquez said. True alliance, not the token membership we have now. Full participation in council decisions, including security matters. Equal treatment for human citizens throughout the galaxy. In exchange, we offer our full military cooperation against threats like the Vraxian Dominion. And if we refuse, Vasquez shrugged, then we return to our colonies and continue as before. Quiet, patient, watching. We will not threaten anyone, but we will also not help anyone. The Vraxians will regroup. They will attack again, and you will face them without us. The implications hung in the air. I would like to know, said a new voice, exactly what full military cooperation means. Admiral Chen had entered the chamber without anyone noticing. He walked down to the platform and stood beside Vasquez, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp. Honored representatives, Chen said, you have seen what 47 human ships can accomplish. You have heard Commander Vasquez mention that this was merely one of 12 defensive formations, but I suspect you still do not understand the scale of what we are offering. He activated his own holographic display. A map of human space appeared, showing their 47 colony worlds scattered across the edge of the galaxy. This is what you think human space looks like, Chen said. He pressed another control. The map expanded. New systems appeared, hundreds of them. Military installations, training facilities, shipyards, mining operations, research stations. This is what human space actually looks like. Gasps echoed through the chamber. We have been preparing for 2 centuries, Chen continued. We have built infrastructure throughout the unexplored regions where no council species bothers to look. We have established manufacturing capacity that exceeds the combined industrial output of the entire council. He zoomed the display to show a single system Sol, humanity's home. Earth itself is defended by 800 warships at any given time. The total number of combat-capable vessels in the human fleet exceeds 2,000. Our reserves of trained personnel number in the tens of millions. Our weapons technology, as you witnessed at Kethrani, is considerably more advanced than anyone suspected. The numbers washed over the chamber like a wave. 2,000 warships, tens of millions of soldiers, 2 centuries of secret preparation. The Vraxian Dominion thought they were conquering the galaxy, Chen said quietly. They thought they had found easy prey among the council species. They were wrong. But they were only wrong because humanity chose to intervene. If we had stayed in our colonies, watched from a distance, let events unfold without interference, how long before the Dominion reached Earth? He looked around the chamber. 50 years. 100. We could have waited. We could have let you all fall and then dealt with the Vraxians ourselves when they finally came for us. It would have been safer, easier, perhaps even smarter. Why didn't you? Asked Vorath. 6 months passed after the Battle of Kethrani. 6 months of diplomacy and negotiation and careful reconstruction of relationships that had been built on lies for 2 centuries. The galaxy was slowly adjusting to the reality of human power, but old habits died hard, and suspicion lingered in many corners. Then the sensors detected the enemy returning. High Chancellor Vorath received the report in his private office. His silver face went pale as he read the numbers. 800 ships, he whispered. The entire Vraxian military. His aide Thisra stood at attention nearby. They have emptied their homeworld defenses. High Chancellor, intelligence suggests they have conscripted every able-bodied warrior in their territory. This is not just an attack, this is their final gamble. Vorath closed his eyes. The Council's 2 remaining fleet, even with the ships that had been rebuilt over the past months, numbered barely 200 vessels. Without the humans, they would be annihilated. Get me Commander Vasquez, he ordered. An hour later, Helena Vasquez stood in his office. She had read the reports already. Human intelligence networks had detected the Vraxian mobilization days before the Council sensors picked it up. They are coming to the Kethrani system again, Vasquez said. The same place where we humiliated them. Supreme Commander Vorkal wants revenge. Vorkal, he survived. Barely. He lost an arm and an eye in the battle, but Vraxian medicine kept him alive. He has spent the past 6 months rebuilding and planning. Vasquez paused. He is not the same person who attacked before. Defeat changed him. He has studied our tactics, analyzed our weapons, developed countermeasures. This will not be an easy battle. Vorath felt his hope crumbling. Then what do we do? Vasquez smiled. It was a warmer smile than he had seen from her before, almost gentle. We honor our agreement, High Chancellor. We fight beside you. The human fleet arrived at Kethrani 2 days before the Varaxi. Admiral Chen brought his original 47 ships battered but repaired after the first battle, and they were not alone. 3 more outer colony defense groups had been assigned to the operation. 188 human warships, spread across the system, working alongside Admiral Korath's 200 council vessels. It was an impressive force, but it still faced odds of more than 2 to 1. Chen stood on the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, studying the tactical displays. Captain Okonkwo stood beside him, her face troubled. They outnumber us badly, she observed, and if Vorkal has really developed counters to our tactics, we cannot rely on the same tricks that worked before. I know, Chen replied quietly. Admiral, with respect, should we not call for the main fleet? 400 ships against 800 is still losing odds. Chen turned to look at her. His expression was complicated, mixing determination with something that might have been sadness. Do you know why humanity kept our strength hidden for so long, Sarah? To avoid attention, sir. To grow in peace. Partly, but there was another reason. He turned back to the viewport. Power changes things. When you know you can destroy anyone who threatens you, it becomes tempting to use that power for other purposes. Humanity's leaders understood this. They kept our military capacity in reserve, not just to protect us, but to protect the galaxy from us. He paused. If we reveal everything now, if we bring 2,000 ships to crush the Varaxians, utterly, what message does that send? That humanity is just another empire, another force that rules through overwhelming strength. That we are no different from the Varaxians themselves, only more powerful. But the Council needs to see that we are trustworthy allies, not terrifying overlords. They need to know that when we fight beside them, we share the risk. We bleed alongside them. We do not simply overwhelm problems with numbers while they watch from a safe distance. Okonkwo absorbed this. You want them to respect us, not fear us. I want them to trust us. Fear is easy to inspire, but it leads nowhere good. Trust is harder but more durable. Chen smiled slightly. Besides, we are not here alone. Admiral Torres is bringing a quarter of the main fleet as reinforcement. 400 ships, arriving within hours of the battle's start. That should be enough to ensure victory without revealing our full capability. And if it is not enough, Chen's smile faded. Then we do what we must. But I hope it will not come to that. The Varaxian fleet emerged from hyperspace in a spreading formation designed to prevent escape. 800 warships, freshly built or repaired, crewed by warriors burning with the desire for vengeance. At their center, the new Varaxian command, ship twice the size of the one Chen had destroyed, carried Supreme Commander Vorkal to his final battle. Vorkal studied the enemy positions from his command throne. His remaining eye glittered with cold intelligence as he analyzed the human and council formations. They have more ships than before, his tactical officer reported. Nearly 400 vessels combined. Still outnumbered 2 to 1, Vorkal replied. And this time, we know their tricks. He activated the fleet-wide communication system. Warriors of the Dominion, before you lies the enemy that humiliated us at this very place. Today we repay that humiliation with blood. Our scientists have studied their weapons, their movements, their strategies. We have developed shields that will resist their kinetic impacts. We have installed targeting systems that can track their ships even at their impossible speeds. We have trained our pilots to anticipate their maneuvers. His voice rose with passion. Today the humans learned that the Varaxian Dominion does not accept defeat. Today we take back our honor. Today we begin the conquest of the galaxy that was always our destiny. The fleet roared its approval across 1,000 communication channels. All ships, Vorkal commanded. Attack. 800 warships surged forward. Chen watched them come. His own fleet held position, waiting. The council ships beside them seemed nervous, their formations loose and ragged with fear. Signal Admiral Korath, Chen ordered. Tell them to hold steady. Let them come to us. Sir, they are deploying in a different formation than before. More distributed, harder to ambush. I see it. Vorkal learned from his mistakes. Chen nodded slowly. Adjust formation alpha to compensate, and prepare to receive Admiral Torres. Her fleet should be arriving within the hour. The battle began not with the explosive chaos of the first encounter but with a careful, methodical exchange. The Varaxians advanced in waves, probing the Allied defenses, testing for weaknesses. Human ships darted out to engage but found their opponents more prepared than before. The new Varaxian shields held longer against kinetic impacts. Their targeting systems tracked human movements with improved accuracy. Ships began to die on both sides. We are losing the exchange, Okonkwo reported grimly. 3 of our destroyers down. 7 council ships destroyed. Enemy losses are only 12 vessels. The reinforcements still 30 minutes out. Chen's jaw tightened. 30 minutes was a long time in space combat. His fleet could lose dozens of ships in 30 minutes. Signal all commanders. New orders. Fall back to defensive positions around the planet. Make them come to us. The Allied fleet retreated, drawing the Vraxians deeper into the system. Vor took the bait, pushing his numerical advantage, trying to surround and destroy the smaller force before help could arrive. They are running, Vorkal exulted. Press the attack. Do not let them escape. The Vraxian fleet poured into the inner system, spreading out to cut off retreat routes. They were so focused on the prey ahead of them that they did not notice the sensors detecting new hyperspace signatures at the edge of the system. Supreme Commander, the sensor officer said hesitantly. We are detecting new arrivals, Council reinforcements. Vorkal sneered. A few more ships will not save them. No, Supreme Commander. The signatures are human. Vorkal's remaining. I narrowed. How many? The sensor officer did not answer immediately. He was staring at his display with an expression of pure horror. How many? Vorkal demanded. 400 ships, Supreme Commander. All human configuration. They are emerging behind us. The main display updated. 400 human warships appeared at the system's edge, forming a massive wedge pointed directly at the Vraxian rear. At their head flew the largest vessel anyone had ever seen, a supercarrier 5 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that had never been used in combat. Admiral Torres's voice came over all frequencies. Vraxian forces. This is Admiral Maria Torres of Earth's first strategic fleet. You are engaged in hostile action against allies of humanity. You will withdraw immediately or you will be destroyed. There will be no further warnings. Vorkal stared at the display. His tactical officer was running calculations, his face increasingly pale. Supreme Commander, if we continue the attack, we will be caught between two forces. Our casualties would be catastrophic. Can we defeat them against 400 fresh ships with superior technology, while already engaged with the forward force? The tactical officer shook his head. We would be annihilated. Vorkal stood from his command throne. He walked to the main viewport and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were moving to trap him just as he had tried to trap them. How many more? He asked quietly. Supreme Commander, how many more ships do the humans have? This is their first strategic fleet. How many other fleets exist? No one could answer him. Vorkal remembered what Admiral Chen had said after the fee.